So before we do anything else, there are two things you need to know. One is, where is Rob? Rob. Next Sunday, you can have my parking spot. You're welcome. Rob will be leading worship next Sunday. And Tom apparently has to say something.
So as you all know, this is Cam's last service with us before he retires. And everyone is invited to stay after the service for lunch and a program of appreciation and thanks in Cam's honor. So lunch will actually be served at 12. We'll have the usual coffee afterwards and then lunch. So please stay and please help us celebrate Cam's time with us and his time in the ministry.
More than once, the followers of Jesus said, "Who is this guy?" They thought they knew who he was, then something would happen that left them wondering. People make assumptions about us. Sometimes we surprise them. What they think about us doesn't really matter as long as we understand this. Our identity is in the one who loves us, the one in whose presence we live and move and have our being, the one who welcomes us into community and into this community. In their presence, in our community, we set aside everything and everyone who calls to question who we are. We are not defined by illusion. We are not defined by the opinion of others. We are defined by the one who made us. We are younger, we are older. We are diverse of race and gender and sexual expression. We are strong and vulnerable, weak and competent. We are not defined by our wealth nor lack, our health nor infirmity. We are. We are who we are, celebrated human beings. We belong to the Holy One. We belong to each other. And so I welcome you to Fairlawn Avenue United Church in your brightness and in your beauty and in your glory. Welcome to this community of faith that is fearless in its commitment to justice. Justice that each week confesses the evil of the displacement of those who first cared for these lands, had homes here, transacted commerce here. The Huron people, Anishinaabe people, Haudenosaunee people, the people of the Mississauga of the New Credit. They are part of the brightness and beauty and glory of creation. Their descendants are our neighbors. And we seek reconciliation with them, confessing the truth of our ancestors' sins against them, engaging in conversations to make amends, and daring to ask for the opportunity to be partners with them in this place. I invite you to turn in your bulletins to our responsive entry into worship. We do not follow cleverly devised stories of a mythical figure named Jesus.
We have firsthand experience of his power to change lives.
We acknowledge that his abilities were gifts of honor from the Creator, who declared, "This is my child, my beloved, with whom I am well pleased." We have the prophetic message, timely words for ourselves and our place in history.
We attend to his words as a lamp shining in a dark place, until the day dawns and the morning star rises in our hearts.
Understand this, that the words we are given by him belong to us all. This, of course, is Transfiguration Sunday, and so our gospel is the story of the Transfiguration. From Matthew chapter 17, the first 8 verses, Jesus took Peter and James and his brother John and led them up a high mountain by themselves. And he was transfigured before them, and his face shone like the sun, and his clothes became dazzling white. And suddenly there appeared to them Moses and Elijah talking with him. Peter said to Jesus, "Lord, it is good for us to be here. If you wish, I will make 3 dwellings here, one for you, one for Moses, and one for Elijah." But while he was still speaking, suddenly a bright cloud overshadowed them, and from the cloud a voice said, "This is my son, the beloved. With him I am well pleased. Listen to him." When the disciples heard this, they fell to the ground and were overcome by fear. But Jesus came and touched them, saying, "Get up, do not be afraid." And when they looked up, they saw no one but Jesus alone. I invite you to join me in our prayer of thanksgiving for this day. We give you all thanks and praise, Holy One.
Your transfiguring light has overcome us and is restoring in us the image of your glory.
We are part of a long, long story.
Light shine out of the darkness, and the heavens lit up in testimony to your justice.
Through the law and prophets, your light has shone forth.
And your word has never fallen silent.
On a high mountain, you pulled back the veil of heaven, and as Moses and Elijah passed on their mantles to the one in whom your saving word is fulfilled, you allowed the incomparable glory of your Son to be seen by his bewildered and bemused disciples.
You stand there with them, not cowering nor distracted, but seeing a future unlike the one we imagined, a world transformed, transfigured on our left. Open our eyes this day to see.
Amen. Transfigurations are big business. Industries depend on our desire to be seen in brilliant perfection. We work hard, we spend money, we get a new face, a new body, a changed appearance. We spend time to shape how people view us, the way we are shared on our online profiles. We want them to know what we want them to believe about us. The trick is, we tell ourselves that it is more than transformation. Transformation is change. Transfiguration reveals who we really are. We claim all of this effort is in the service of a revelation of our true inner nature. Cosmetic companies learned to sell us not on making us look better, but on revealing our inner beauty to the world. You don't have to make yourself into somebody new. You just have to let us help you show everyone who you already are. And if it doesn't work, it's not their fault. Performers look for ways to sell themselves, to make changes so that people see them. And some fear or wonder if their names are going to be a stumbling block to how people view the real them. So let's give you a little test. Tell me who these people became. Francis Gum, Judy Garland, Archibald Leach, Cary Grant. The women knew that one. Aaron Schwalt. Not Aaron Flynn, no. Red Buttons. Now, would you have paid money to go see somebody called Marion Morrison in a movie? You did. What was his name? John Wayne. How about this one? Stephanie Joanne Angelina Germanata. There, see, I knew somebody would know it. Lady Gaga. See, here's the youth component of the church today. Lady Gaga. We are transfigured when we see ourselves as wondrous. We want other people to see us that way. But we already are part of a wondrous creation and way of life. I'm on the right track, baby. I was born this way, thank you. We didn't set that up ahead of time, but I knew somebody would know. I'm on the right track, baby. I was born this way. Jesus' disciples had an awareness of his own glory. They were joined by two other witnesses, two of the keystones of their faith tradition, Moses and Elijah. But it is so overwhelming, especially when this voice comes out of nowhere, well, a cloud, but still. They duck and cover. They can't deal with the immensity of the revelation because they see him as he is. It's over before it began. And they want to put up a tabernacle, a holy tent. They want to stay there. It was such a great moment. The retired United Methodist preacher and theologian William H. Willimon loved this passage, and he once said to his church, "It's like you saying, 'Let's stay here forever. Can we go past noon just this one Sunday?'" It's my last Sunday. Transfiguration is all the more powerful when there are witnesses. Transfiguration becomes a touchstone, a revelation of our created glory. The touchstone may last only a moment, but we can return to it. Moses and Elijah move on. The disciples can't stay. Jesus has work to do, and they're following him, so when he walks down the hillside, they have to clamber after him. We said we would follow. They have been in a thin place. Thin place is as you know, a Celtic term to describe the place where the distance between heaven and earth seems very thin. And for me, one such place is Iona, Scotland. It feels different. My scientific brain thinks that we may in time discover that it's because the geological makeup of that little island is different from the rest of Scotland. Iona is ancient. The rock is 1 to 2 billion years old. I think it affects us differently because we move off of the 60 million year old rock of the other islands on which is a completely different composition into this place. Now that may be me grasping at geological straws. All I know is that walking on Iona is different. And there's at least one place when you walk around a corner across the heather and see a bay and you go, "Oh my God, I'm in Narnia." I've asked you in the past about your thin places where you experience heaven and earth as being not so distant from each other. And you've thought about that, and you've thought about returning to them. And when you do that, even in your imagination, they become touchstones. A remembrance of when you have been transfigured or reminded of your glory as part of this wondrous creation. You can't pitch a tent there. but you can return in your memory. When you need to be reminded who you really are in this good creation. Transfiguration is about embracing possibility. The disciples saw Jesus differently. They couldn't ignore that. They were changed. Yeah, I've been looking back on my ministry this past week or two, and one of the themes of that ministry has been the development of technology. In my very first church, we printed what we needed on a Gestetner, whose chief value seemed to be the ability for us to get high on fumes. Made the sermons way more interesting. In my second church, there was a business person who was what we would now call an early adapter. He would buy newer, better computers for his business every year, and he would give me his old stuff. I hadn't been there long when he gifted me a Toshiba T100. It ran on two 5-inch floppy disks. And you had to slide one in to get the thing to work, and you had to slide one in the other side to record what you were doing. It had a color monitor, orange. It had a dot matrix printer that screamed at you, but you didn't have to use the IBM Selectric. What a leap. So I want to talk about advances in technology, and I think I'll go to the youth group to ask them about this stuff, because young people, we like to embarrass them by finding out if they actually know what stuff really is that we used to use. So who can tell me what that is? That is a phone. It's a cell phone. You used to plug it into your cigarette lighter in the car, and you could talk to people who had your number. It's amazing. All right, here's your next one. They answered that one. I'm taking this one here. What is that? That's a BlackBerry. I have shares. That was state of the art. And this one was even cooler because when I bought it, it didn't have a physical keyboard. I could type on the lights on it. State of the art, both of them. Now, who would trade what you have right now in your pocket or purse for one of those? Oh, Joanne loves her BlackBerry. If you can get it to work, it's yours. Used responsibly, tech is wondrous. But we don't settle for old tech. New tech can help us expand our knowledge and capacities. It can be momentarily transfiguring when we first hold it in our hands and realize we can do more with this. And I know that I'm not going to argue with you about the disadvantages, but there is a moment where we go, wow, there's so much I can do with this now. And we don't stay in that moment. Matter of fact, we're usually getting emails about the next one because we want to develop our capacity to do more. Churches, including Fairlawn, cannot stay in the moment. They can't stick with their old tech. They have to have enough vision to, even if unsure of what it may be, walk down off the mountain and embrace an uncertain future. Be transfigured, and then go on to what is next. Now, the title of my reflection today comes from a book by Douglas Adams. So long and thanks for all the fish. Part of the narrative describes the end of the world. And just before it happens, all the dolphins and the porpoises, which Adams claims are more intelligent than humans, leave in spaceships. Their parting words before the world is destroyed are, "So long, and thanks for all the fish." Now, before you get your knickers in too much of a twist about those being my parting words for you, take into account the example that you have been to me. So, how many of you are retired? Keep your hands up if you're happy in that retirement. Thank you. You know that one of my heroes is Dr. Martin Luther King. The day before he was assassinated, he offered what has come to be known as his mountaintop speech. It is telling that what he spoke almost 60 years ago feels like today. And I can do no better than for you to hear his words to end today's reflection.
All we say to America is be true to what you said on paper. If I lived in China or even Russia or any totalitarian country, maybe I could understand some of these illegal injunctions. Maybe I could understand the denial of certain basic First Amendment privileges because they haven't committed themselves to that over there. But somewhere I read of the freedom of assembly. Somewhere I read of the freedom of speech. Somewhere I read of the freedom of press. Somewhere I read that the greatness of America is the right to protest far right. And so just as I say we aren't going to let any dogs or water hoses turn us around, we aren't going to let any injunction turn us around. Well, I don't know what will happen now. We've got some difficult days ahead. But it really doesn't matter with me now because I've been to the mountaintop. I don't mind. Like anybody, I would like to live a long life. Longevity has its place. But I'm not concerned about that now. I just want to do God's will. And He's allowed me to go up to the mountain. And I've looked over and I've seen the promised land. I may not get there with you, but I want you to know tonight that we as a people will get to the promised land. So I'm happy tonight. I'm not worried about anything. I'm not fearing any man. Mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord.
This is a CBS News special report.
Dan Rather reporting for CBS News from New York. The Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. was shot to death by an assassin late today as he stood on a balcony in Memphis, Tennessee. Dr. King had planned to lead another civil rights march in Memphis next Monday. We got the latest on the story now from Russ Hodge, news director of WREC-TV.
That was a good mistake. So let me say something about your generosity as a group of people before we receive the offering. And it isn't just about the financial support of the church and the work that we do together, but the way that you care for each other. Thank you. Thank you for a vision for this place and beyond. And thank you to those of you who told me that you were glad that as part of the United Church, we were praying for Tumbler Ridge. That is part of who we are. That is who you reveal yourselves to be in your grace and your care and your generosity. Thank you. You might as well stay standing because we're going to pass the peace to each other. And if you're looking for something to say, you might turn to the person whose hand you're shaking and say, "You're gorgeous today." I just want to introduce the closing hymn. I don't usually do that, but this hymn was sung at my ordination in 1980 in a Baptist church. Oh, shut up.
I graduated high school.
We're going till noon today, folks.
Yes.
The Baptists who were helping lead the service weren't quite sure what to do with a hymn from the Anglican United Church hymn book. None of you know about that one. But one of you who is a sailor, when we have sung this before, was at pains to remind me that no sailor worth their salt would weigh anchor with a sail torn with many a rift. Talking to you, Bob. Noted. However, I think most of us face each day with rifts in our lives. We are profoundly aware of our brokenness, our vulnerabilities. And like all the good ministers I know who have been and are examples and friends, we know this. Awareness of those rifts gives us strength and inner credibility, and the notion that offering ourselves each day is an act of faith. The sail's going up with a few holes in it. Thank you to the men of the deeps for your appearance this morning. Oh, we were born to manifest the glory of God that is within us. It's not just in some of us, it's in everyone. And as we let our light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same.